Right now at noon, Joplin looks to slow things down on a busy street near the high school. Plus, do you know who you're voting for this November? We give you a look at who the candidates are, starting with the race for Cherokee County Sheriff. And Hurricane Milton is expected to make landfall overnight. We'll take a look at the storm, which could be the worst to hit Florida in over a century.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, drivers on 20th Street in Joplin are going to have to slow down as a new school zone is put in place. This is KOAM to 4 p.m. Drivers will need to slow down. The speed limit along 20th Street by the high school will drop to 20 miles per hour. KOAM's Lonnie Walton spoke to neighbors about the change.
So every morning when I'm in here or coming into work at 6 a.m., there's always someone that is right behind me, really up close to my car, rushing to get to work. And a lot of times taking that turn into work, I have to slow down quite a bit, but they're still right up on my tail.
Cheyenne Hall is a barista at Pink Morning's Coffee Company just down 20th from Joplin High School. On Monday night, the Joplin City Council passed an emergency ordinance for school zone changes on 20th Street by the high school. Hall says it's past due.
Still are playing on their phones, and just being able to have that a little bit more enforced makes it a lot safer for the kids.
One local business owner says she's in favor of the speed reduction, but driving on the road anyway is just not her cup of tea.
A lot of times I just turn the back way because I don't want to mess with turning across traffic.
They say it's a change for the better, even if others may need to adjust.
I think everybody will oppose something, also sometimes just for the sake of opposing things, but I also think that people are in a hurry, and I think that they're just going to have to stop and be a little more patient.
Reporting in Joplin, I'm Lonnie Walton, KOAM News.
Well, since this is an emergency ordinance, the City Council needed to vote only once to pass it into code. The new school zone went into effect immediately. The Carthage City Council meeting last night includes more discussion about the possible impeachment of the mayor. Talk of impeachment from certain members of the City Council goes back to April. The articles of impeachment accused Mayor Dan Reif of violating his oath and duties as mayor. At last night's meeting, council members approved new articles of impeachment. Now, the hearing date and the disqualification hearing will be held October 15th. Now let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Ketty for a look at the forecast.
Yeah, and it's turning out to be a pretty good Wednesday so far for us today. Plenty of sunshine, temperatures warming up nicely. We're already above our average high. 77 in Joplin. Pittsburgh is sitting at 75 degrees, 76 in Lamar, 77 in Anderson, 79 in Miami. Also the same in Independence, Kansas. I think most of us about 85, 86 later on today. Clear skies, not a whole bunch going on here. So let's drop south. Here's Milton. You can see a very defined eye wall, and then it loses it through the overnight hours, kind of recycles, so it's weakened a little bit. It may strengthen briefly this afternoon, but at least a weakening trend. You can see all these clouds out ahead of it, and that is some upper level wind chill. But a lot of tornadic activity across the peninsula of Florida, and Milton should make landfall later on tonight. So clocking winds 145, major hurricane. And it will track just on the south side of Tampa, hopefully drops to a category 3 later on tonight. So we're going to have more about this, plus what you're going to see at your house here in just a bit.
All right, Doug, we'll see you soon. Well, Hurricane Milton was downgraded this morning to a strong category 4 storm with 155 miles per hour sustained winds. But officials say it could still be the worst hurricane to hit Florida in a century. Milton is said to make landfall overnight on Florida's west coast, bringing with it catastrophic winds, rain, and storm surge. Terry Hornstein reports from Tampa, where meteorologists are warning the storm surge could get as high as 15 feet.
Storm surge hit Key West early Wednesday morning as Hurricane Milton barreled closer to Florida.
We are bracing and are prepared to receive a major hit.
Mandatory evacuation orders were issued for areas along the Gulf Coast, including the city of Treasure Island. The monster storm is expected to make landfall early Thursday before sweeping across the central part of the state. Forecasters say the intensity of Milton is like nothing Floridians have ever seen before.
This is a massive storm that is going to bring catastrophic wind, but also flooding and storm surge. And so listen to your local officials. Nobody needs to die from this storm. I want people to get out of harm's way.
But some are choosing to stay, including people in this retirement community in St. Petersburg, where debris from Hurricane Helene still litters the neighborhood.
I don't have anywhere to go, and I'm afraid to get stranded somewhere on the interstate.
Still, others got the message. The roads remain packed with residents trying to get to safety.
We don't feel it's safe with my son and their family to stick around.
Gas shortages have also become a problem.
This is the only place that has fuel.
Federal officials say residents may not need to go far to get to safety. In some areas, just going a few miles inland could make all the difference. Terry Hornstein, CBS News, Tampa.
Meteorologists say Milton is so powerful its impacts will be felt far outside the hurricane's cone. Gusty winds will reach well away from the center of the storm. The Arkansas National Guard sent a Black Hawk crew to Florida to bolster the Florida National Guard and provide support after Hurricane Milton passes. The 11-day mission will provide direct hoist and airlift support to ground-based search and rescue teams. The support is provided through an emergency management assistance compact between Florida and Arkansas. The crew expected to stage overnight in the Florida Panhandle before proceeding where directed by the Florida National Guard in the wake of Hurricane Milton. Well, coming up, a death penalty case prompts lawmakers in Oklahoma to take a closer look at the state's criminal justice system. And later, we're making George Washington's corn cakes in the Mr. Cool's Test Kitchen. Well, during the Halloween season, it's not just vampires looking for blood. Yesterday, the city of Miami held a community blood drive at the Integris Health Hospital. And the theme for the drive, a play on Beetlejuice, was People Juice. Well, donors got a free glow-in-the-dark People Juice t-shirt and a chance to talk about their favorite scary movies.
My favorite scary movie, I know it sounds so random, it would be Signs. I know that sounds odd, but it's not quite like your normal traditional scary movie, but it scares me.
My favorite type of movie is action movies. Just the excitement, the adrenaline of the chase, catching the bad guy.
Well, drive organizers want to remind people that one donation can save up to 3 lives. Well, when you head to the polls this November, you'll see a lot of names on your ballot, but we want to help you learn more about the candidates you'll be voting for, starting with those running for Cherokee County Sheriff. KOAM Samantha Walker reached out to both candidates on the ballot. Russ Harper elected to not participate. Samantha sat down with Brian Henderson to talk about what he hopes to bring to the position.
It will be kind of a homecoming of coming back to where it all started for me.
Brian Henderson is no stranger to Cherokee County. With more than 2 decades of law enforcement experience, he's previously worked for the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department, Joplin Police, and Baxter Springs PD. He believes his experience as chief in Baxter Springs will be useful if he's elected sheriff.
I feel like I have a lot to bring to the citizens of Cherokee County. I feel like I can do a lot as far as bringing back law enforcement and bringing the professionalism within the department that needs to be there.
One change Henderson hopes to bring to office is an increased partnership with other area agencies.
Whether it be local agencies within the county or the agencies that are from outside of our area, such as whether it be Joplin Police Department or Quapaw Marshals was going to be a big one because we border with them and they utilize our jail. So that networking and having the ability to be able to work with these other agencies is so important.
Throughout his campaign, Henderson has run under the values of compassion, honor, and integrity. He says those are necessary values for law enforcement to hold, and ones he plans to continue to emphasize as he works to gain the trust of the community.
It's something that we have to have. As law enforcement, we put on our badge. It's a sign for people to look at, and we don't want to disgrace that badge. We don't want to disgrace what we have.
Reporting in Cherokee County, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Voters will cast their ballots for Cherokee County Sheriff November 5th. You have just under a week left to register to vote in Kansas. Lawmakers in Oklahoma want to fix what they are calling flaws in the state's criminal justice system. Much of the focus is due to death row inmate Richard Glossip. Glossip is sentenced to die for the 1997 murder-for-hire killing of his former boss. Glossip's attorney says his client's case represents many of the problems with the criminal justice system in the Sooner State.
And we are using Richard Glossip's case sort of as a frame but with the problems, because his case is representative of many cases and many problems that exist in the criminal justice system in Oklahoma.
The U.S. Supreme Court is scheduled to hear Glossip's case next week. Well, still to come on KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
We are midway through our week-long visit to Washington, D.C. And take it from me, today's recipe is monumental.
Plus, our temperature is heating up as we go through the next few days. Details coming up. Well, of course, it turned out to be so far, a nice day for us across the region. Temperatures have been fantastic, and we're going to continue to warm up as we go through the afternoon hours. First off, let's drop south. We have Hurricane Milton, which has been, of course, a big story across the region over the past couple days, but will make landfall later on tonight. Now, the eye wall is really weakened throughout the overnight hours, so you can't even see an eye at this point in time. In fact, the circulation kind of moved up to the top left side, so it's kind of regenerating. It may strengthen a little bit as it gets toward the coast and then probably weaken again. There's a lot of upper level wind shear across the region, so that is helping to drop the strength back just a little bit on Milton. But of course, it's still going to be a major hit as it pushes into the western seaboard of Florida as we go into tonight. Still about 12 hours away. The center of circulation is right there. It should hit on the south side of Tampa, Venice, and also Fort Myers. A lot of tornadic activity through the state of Florida, which is very common with hurricanes. On this side of the hurricane, the right side or the southeast side, we do see a lot of severe weather, and then it's just heavy rain once you get on the north side. Clocking winds at 145. The pressure has really come up. It was at 902 last night, so that shows a little bit of a weakening trend. But as it makes landfall tonight, it will be a strong 3 or a low 4. So equivalent to about what we saw with Helene, but it's not going to cover as much real estate as what Helene did a couple weeks ago. And then it's going to track right across the state. So as we go through the overnight hours, it's still going to hold hurricane status, but weaken quickly. And then once it gets back out into the Atlantic, it will eventually drop to just a tropical depression. But of course, all eyes on Florida as we go through the next day or so. Now back here at home, it's pretty nice. Temperature is great, upper 70s to near 80. I think most of us this afternoon will top out right around 85 degrees. 77 right now, southerly winds at about 5 to 10. As we get into the evening hours, it looks good, 80, 70, 60s. So another fantastic evening on tap for us. Clear skies, not much going on here. Really, the entire Central Plains, pretty much clear skies. And if we look out toward the west, not a whole bunch going on, but we do have very weak upper level wave that will kind of spin in tomorrow. So that could give us a few clouds, maybe a random shower or two as we get into tomorrow morning, which would be great, but most of us will stay dry. All right, mid 80s today. Let's go through the evening hours and tonight. Clouds start to increase. We'll stop at 6 a.m. in the morning, mid 50s. As we go through the morning, look at these showers popping up. Kansas and Oklahoma, but kind of dying as they push in. So the better chances for rain will be on the Kansas and the Oklahoma side, and then right back up into the mid 80s for highs by the time we head into Thursday afternoon. But we do have changes. Check this out. Big upper level wave slides to our east as we go into early next week. So what this will do in return, yes, it's going to really heat up ahead of it, but by the time we get into Sunday and Monday, we are going to see much cooler temperatures pushing into the region. 85 today, 86 Thursday, random shower. Near 90 on Saturday, so record highs, and then only 79 on Sunday. And then look at this, only 64 by Monday,
Wow.
So we'll get quite a bit cooler.
Yeah.
Feeling more like October next week.
I can get on board with that.
I can too.
All right, thanks, Doug.
You bet.
Well, stick around. We're making George Washington's corn cakes in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. We'll be right back. Continuing his week-long trip in Washington, D.C., Howard is showing us how to make George Washington's corn cakes.
As our week-long visit to Washington, D.C. continues, I have to tell you, there's a lot to do. And for those of you who love museums, there's no shortage of them, including the Smithsonian, which you could get lost in. After all, it's the largest museum in the world. And if you're a foodie like me, you gotta check out the Julia Child exhibit at the National Museum of American History, which is part of the Smithsonian. There you'll see a replica of the kitchen where Julia created her recipes for her cookbooks and taped her TV show. Then we were off to the Washington Monument. It was built to honor and recognize George Washington's leadership and his many contributions to our country. Did you know George Washington loved corn cakes? Well, he did, and they were part of his morning breakfast routine. He loved them so much, we thought it'd be fitting to recreate the recipe and share it with you. It's simple, yet it tastes so monumental. To get the recipe for what we call George Washington's corn cakes, all you need to do is visit our website. I'm Howard from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a monumental way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go on over to our website. Of course, that's KOAMnewsnow.com. Now here's a look at the 4-state market prices.